Hello all, welcome back to UPSC Warriors channel by Unacademy. This is Soundarya. I hope your preparation is going good and you have ample amount of time for clearing the prelims, provided you spend good amount of time for solving MCQs. I hope this MCQ session is useful. So if you also feel the same, please drop a message in the comment section, and if you have not subscribed to UPSC Warriors channel, please subscribe. So now let's continue our MCQs from 20th December 2024, and the first topic is going to be from the first MCQ is going to be from this article, that is rupee value depreciated to a record low of 85 per US dollar. And in the previous video we already discussed about how the United States Federal Reserve's rate cuts is actually impacting the Indian economy as well as the United States economy in terms of decreasing stocks value, increasing selling of equities, and how it is affecting the currency's value in terms of either appreciation or depreciation, etc. So how it is affecting investor sentiment. So if you have not watched that video, so I will add the link in the description, so please do watch it. Now, before moving on to the first question, just have a quick look at the previous year question. So this question was asked twice, one in the year 2013 and the other in the year 2021. So what is the nature of this question? It is asking you to find out doing which of these followings can lead to inflation. So it is about what? The effect of each and everything, right? How it is paving way for inflation. So you have to know the interrelationship between these things. So in what condition we will have inflation? Again, this is the option, correct answer, creating new money. So we already discussed about how RBI printing unlimited money can lead to inflation, right? So what you have to do is, what I'm trying to tell you is, always try to interrelate things in terms of the cause as well as the effect relationship, right? Just have a look at this question. So this question is asking about the causes. So on what condition we will have demand pull inflation? Clear? So again, this is one of the previous year question which was exclusively based upon the Federal Reserve's policy. So what is going to happen because of the tight monetary policy of US in India? So all you have to do nowadays for preparation is try to interrelate as much as possible, interrelate different subjects, interrelate different concepts, and try to have a conceptual clarity so that you do not miss out any of these statements. So once that interrelation is in place, the subject will be very, very easy for you. Okay, so that can again reduce the pressure that you have during the preparation. So spend more time in understanding and less time to what? Juggling between different things randomly. So now let's start with the first question. With reference to the Indian economy, which of the following can lead to depreciation? So this is asking you the cause of depreciation. So let's have a look at the options here. Higher trade deficit, volatile FPI flows, rising interest rates. So what is mean by depreciation? Decrease in value of Indian rupees with respect to foreign currency, say for example dollar. So to give example, if I tell you $1 is now 80 rupees from 75 rupees, it means what? You have to spend 5 rupees extra to get $1. The value of dollar is increased, but the value of Indian rupee is decreased. So this is called as what? Depreciation. So on what condition this can happen? We know that this exchange rate is something determined by the demand and supply of foreign currencies in the Indian economy. So in this case, the demand and supply of dollar is going to change this exchange rate. So whenever the demand for dollar is higher than the demand for the Indian rupees or the supply of the Indian rupees, okay, in that case, the value of dollar is going to get increased, right? So whenever the supply of dollar is getting decreased with constant demand, in that condition also the value of dollar with respect to Indian rupee is going to get increased, right? So this is the main conditions based on which this exchange rate gets changed. Now have a look at the first option, higher trade deficit. So what is mean by higher trade deficit? Higher trade deficit is something which happens because of what? Higher imports. Imports greater than exports. Clear? So when the imports are greater than exports of goods that you make, then you end up having trade deficit. So you'll not be able to pay for the excess imports because of the less exports that you make, right? So when that happens, what is happening? Your imports are greater. If your imports are greater, you need more amount of dollar to meet the imports. So when the demand for dollar is increasing, then depreciation can happen. So this option is correct. Clear? So what about volatile FPI flows? So volatile means what? It is not stable, it is fluctuating. So since the US Federal Reserves came up with the rate cuts, we witnessed so much amount of, selling of equity, selling of stocks, and the FPIs and the FIIs are going out of the country because of finding some alternate attractive investment opportunities, right? So that is something which can lead to decrease in the value, decrease in the supply of dollars, again leading to what? Depreciation. And then rising interest rates. So whenever the interest rates are getting increased, what is happening? The banks will also increase the interest rate. So when repo rate is increased, banks will increase the rate of interest that it is charging from its borrowers. The loan that we get from the bank, it is also going to increase the fixed deposits interest rates and the interest rates for the savings. Why so? When the banks are increasing the savings rate, it is attracting more funds, right? So in that case, the investors will be willing to spend more in the country. Investors will be willing to have a fixed deposit in the bank or do kind of savings, because that is going to give them good returns, right? So in that case, it will attract the money flow. So money will enter into the country if the interest rates are higher, as in the case of United States Federal Reserves, right? So the rate cut attracted so much amount of investments, especially in the United States bond market, right? So this is not true. So the correct answer for this question is 1 and 2 only. So before moving to the detailed explanation, I have a quick announcement to make here that now you can avail UPSC CSE subscription for 50% offer at Unacademy. And in addition to that, this is the most exciting thing that you can get. That is, after the end of 9 months, you can get another 9 months completely for free. And after 12 month subscription, you can get another 12 month subscription completely for free. So this is going to be very, very beneficial, especially if you are someone who is going to start the UPSC preparation and appear in the next year or in 2026, right? And we also have these classes currently running on in R Plus platform, taken by the top educators of India. So if you are someone who is again going to give UPSC interview this year, this is exclusively for you. You have a completely free UPSC mock interview program that is again being run by the Unacademy. So please enroll this as soon as possible. So now let's quickly try to revise what we studied. How the higher trade deficit is leading to depreciation. It is because when import of goods are greater, the imports increases the demand for the foreign currency so as to settle the payment, and that higher demand can again lead to increase in value of dollars with respect to rupees. So this will reduce the value of domestic currency, leading to depreciation. Now let's have a look at how volatile FPI flows can lead to depreciation. So this is something which is affecting the stability. So when FPI outflows actually happens, it reduces the supply of foreign currencies to the economy, right? So this is something like crowding out of investments. We can say this as what? Crowding out of investments. Clear? So basically the supply of dollar is getting decreased here. This again can reduce the investors' confidence who are willing to invest in the country. So this can reduce their profit margins also. And then selling of the securities will continue to affect the value of Indian currency by reducing the supply of dollars. So once the investors' confidence is getting reduced, the selling of securities will be happening on a rapid scale. So all these elements can pave way for what? Depreciation of rupees. And now have a look at this, how rising interest rates can lead to appreciation of rupee. So it is not going to lead to depreciation, right? How it is going to lead to appreciation of rupee? As we discussed with the case of United States Federal Reserve rate cut policy, the rate cuts had actually paved way for strengthening of dollars. Why? Because of the rate cut, the borrowings are going to increase. So because of increase in borrowings, the bond yield is going to get increased. So because of increase in bond yield, people will be attracted to the bond market rather than to the equity market, right? So this is something which is going to make investors across the country to do investments in the United States by taking off their investments from the other countries. So this is again going to create a demand for the dollars in the country. So when the demand for dollar is getting increased, that is again going to lead to strengthening of the dollar, right? Just because the investments are getting distracted now. So when a central bank raises interest rates, borrowing costs more, but returns for the investors also increase, right? Because when the repo rate is increased, the banks will also increase the rate for the loans that it is charging. In addition to that, the interest rate for savings. If I am going to make savings at the bank, I will be able to get higher returns for the savings that I am going to make in terms of interest. So if I am going to have a fixed deposit, banks will again, increase the rate of interest that it is going to give me for my fixed deposit. So why do banks have to do this? Although the cost of borrowing is getting higher because of increased, interest rates, the banks will also go for what? Higher savings rate so as to attract the investments, right? So when the interest rates are getting increased, if I am an investor, I will be able to get higher returns. So that will again help me to go to this particular country for investment, right? So foreign investors chasing higher returns by more of the local currency so as to deposit them. In case of US, it is going to be the dollars. So buying more dollars will again lead to what? Creating the demand for the dollars, and that is something going to lead to appreciation. Clear? So this is how rising interest rates can lead to appreciation of the currency, be it rupee or be it dollar. Clear? I hope this statement is clear. So if you have any doubts, please feel free to drop a message in the comment section. I will clarify all the doubts. The next question is from this article, that should legislatures in India have a fixed term? So this is about One Nation, One Election bill. So this bill, after getting introduced in the Lok Sabha, is now submitted to the Parliamentary Joint Committee for scrutiny, and that is why it was in news. So what is the question here? The question is asking you to read these two statements. Read along with me. The bill does not propose a fixed term for legislatures. It allows for midterm elections in the state legislatures to align it with the tenure of the parliament. So what is the correct answer here? The correct answer is option A. Both these statements are correct, and statement 2 is the correct explanation for statement 1. Now, let's try to understand this in detail. So what this bill is basically trying to do is to fix the tenure of the Lok Sabha to 5 years, okay, and not fix the tenure of the state legislatures to 5 years as we have currently in the Article 172, so as to enable the state legislatures to have the election along with the election of the Lok Sabha. Say for example, if the Lok Sabha is completed 5 years of its term period and now it is waiting for election, in that case, if any of the state legislatures has completed just 3 years and it has 2 more years left to complete its tenure, in that case, this particular state legislature will be dissolved prematurely. Clear? So it will be dissolved, and now it will also be subjected to election along with the Lok Sabha. So this is what the plan is. For this reason only, the tenure of the state legislatures is not getting fixed here. So the amendment basically tries, is going to try to remove this particular provision whereby the state's legislature's tenure is fixed. So what it is doing, instead it is fixing the tenure of the Lok Sabha and aligning the tenure of the state legislatures with the tenure of the Lok Sabha. So in that case, what is going to happen if the Lok Sabha is getting dissolved before the 5-year term, or what is going to happen if the state legislature is getting dissolved before the 5-year term? So all these questions will be there in your mind, right? So let me answer that also. So if the Lok Sabha is getting dissolved before 5-year term period, or if the state legislature is going to get dissolved before the 5-year time period, the elections will happen only to serve the remaining period that is left out of 5. Say for example, if the Lok Sabha is dissolving in the 3rd year, right? Now, the fresh election to the Lok Sabha will be conducted so as to serve the remaining 2-year time period only. Okay, not for the entire 5-year time period. This is something which you have to remember. But in that case, it is not mandatory for dissolving the state legislatures. Why? Anyhow, the state legislature's tenure was already fixed to the tenure of the Lok Sabha, aligned to the tenure of the Lok Sabha. If the Lok Sabha is getting dissolved in between, we are going to have fresh elections for the Lok Sabha in such a way that the term is going to be served only for the remaining 2 years. And once the remaining 2 years is served, again the 5-year tenure is over. Now the elections will be happening for Lok Sabha as well as the state legislatures simultaneously. I hope this is clear now. But what is going to happen if the state legislatures get dissolved before completing its full term? So, what if the state legislatures gets dissolved in between? If the state legislatures get dissolved in between, midterm elections will happen and the newly elected government can run only for the remaining term period of the Lok Sabha and not the state legislature. Say for example, if the state legislature has completed 2 years term, right, and if it is dissolved before completing the next 3 years, then the fresh elections or the midterm elections will happen so as to complete the remaining tenure of the Lok Sabha only, not the state legislature's remaining tenure. Why so? Only by doing that we will be able to have what? Simultaneous elections for the Lok Sabha and the state legislatures. Like, so we can synchronize the elections of both the Lok Sabha as well as the state legislatures only by doing this thing. So what you have to remember here, tenure of the Lok Sabha is fixed for 5 years. Tenure of the state legislatures are not fixed. Why? To pave way for midterm elections or to pave way for premature dissolution of the legislatures so as to align its term with what? Term of the Lok Sabha. In case if the Lok Sabha is getting dissolved before completing its 5-year term period, the newly elected Lok Sabha will run only for fulfilling the remaining term period. So if the Lok Sabha is getting dissolved, it is not needed for us to dissolve the state legislatures also. It will function. So if the state legislatures is getting dissolved, then the fresh elections will happen so as to fulfill the remaining term period of the Lok Sabha, but not the state legislatures. I hope this is clear for you. So according to which the statement 1 and 2 both are correct. Now read this. Bill does not propose a fixed term for legislatures. It is true. It allows for midterm elections in the state legislatures to align its tenure with that of the parliament. This is true. Because of this reason only it is not proposing the fixed tenure for the state legislatures. I hope this is clear to you now. Now let's get back to this question. This is again a previous year question. Since a parliamentary joint committee was formed to discuss this 129th amendment bill, you can get a question on these lines also. Just have a look at this question asked in the year 2018 with reference to Parliament of India, which of the following committees scrutinizes, okay, and reports to the House whether the powers to make all these things clear are being exercised properly or not. So it is the Committee on Subordinate Legislation. So what you have to do, you have to know the functions of each and every committee and how it is operating, who are all the members, either it includes both the members from Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. Okay, so how the committees are remaining powerful in solving these kind of disputes, chaos, etc. So this is enough, I think, for today. So let's continue in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have not subscribed to the UPSC Warriors channel, please subscribe, and if you have any doubts, please drop a message in the comment section. Thank you. See you all. Bye.